Daf Tasya. Okay.
The Venice or
the which is based on the Venice. Okay. Good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Yerushalmi, Brachas, in the Ois V'Hader's edition, Daf Tes. Let us quickly recap where we're at and then speak out the Hagdama for today's Daf. So we have in our Mishnah Machloikas, three-way Machloikas, until when may one, can one recite the Shema of the night? Right, Chevra, Rabbi Eliezer says, At Soif Ashmoira Rishoina, we learned to Machloikis, Rab Nosson and Rabbi, is that a third into the night, is that a fourth into the night? Then we have the sheet of the Chachamim, At Chatzois, and then Rabban Gamliel says, until the Alois Hashach. What does Rabbi Eliezer say? He says that when the Torah says that the mitzvah is to recite the Shema, B'shach B'cha, it doesn't mean when people are sleeping, it means when people go to sleep. That's why you can't say it the whole night, even though people sleep the whole night, but they're not going to, they go to sleep in the first of the Shema. Rabban Gamliel that says, no, you can say Shema until always Hashachar. He teaches, he interprets the word B'shach B'cha to mean when people are laying down. People are laying down the whole night. People wake up by Elois. What is the Chachamim? So actually, as we spoke out, and now let's review it, the whole kasha that we're building up to is based on the premise in which the Yerushalmi argues with the Babli in the understanding of the Chachamim. The Yerushalmi understands that the Chachamim argue with Rabban Gamliel. The Chachamim agree with Rabbi Eliezer. The Chachamim say that the word Ubeshach B'cha doesn't mean when people are sleeping. No. Hashem says, say the Shema when people are going to sleep. Elama, even though the Roiv people go to sleep until the Shmoira or the Shaina, some people go to sleep until midnight. Some people go to sleep a bit later. But B'shach B'cha means the mitzvah is to recite it when people are going to sleep, not when people are sleeping. In other words, the Chachamim argue with Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel argues with the Chachamim. They interpret the word Ubeshach B'cha completely different. Based on that, we have the following kasha. It's normal for there to be disagreements. Everyone has the right for their opinion. However, when it comes to paskening halacha l'maisa, yachid v'rabim halacha kerab. And the Gemara already brought here in the Yerushalmi two examples. Quickly reviewing, you have the machloekes between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim, whether a person can vigorously mix alvantis on Shabbos. Rav Meir was lenient, yet when it came to his own behavior, he did not mix it on Shabbos. Why? Because the Chachamim say you're not allowed. In other words, even that Yachid themselves, halacha l'maisa, they follow the sheet of the Chacham. The second case was Machlekes Rabbi Akiva and the Chacham. Here it's in the other direction, that there's a certain minimum amount of human bones needed to impart Tumas Oil. There's a minimum amount of dam needed to impart Tumas Oil. What happens if you have the minimum amount, but it's from two different corpses? So you have a skull from two different corpses. Rabbi Akiva in the yeshiva, the Beis Medrash was machmer, metame. The Chachamim say it's not metame. When it came halacha l'maisa, Rabbi Akiva followed the sheet of the Chacham. Another example where even that Yachid himself would follow the sheet of the Rabbi. Yachid Rabbi halacha kerab. We're going to start today 2 lines from the top of the Amid. The final example, which would be a machlokes between Rebbe Shimon and Reb Shimon Stam, just to know, it's Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, and the Chachamim, when it comes to Sviche Shvi'is, as we'll explain in a moment. And here again, the Poyel Mamish, Reb Shimon, Paskint, like the Chachamim, all of that is leading to the Kasha, like we explained, since the Chachamim's understanding of the word Ubeshachbacha means you can only say the Shema. The mitzvah, the reciting of the Shema, is only when people are going to sleep. Rabbi Gamliel was the one that interpreted the word Ubeshachbacha to mean while people are sleeping, which is why he holds you could say it until Allah is Shachar. That's fine. But when the children of Rabbi Gamliel, in actuality, because of an oinus, when they missed the deadline of Chatzos, how was he allowed to tell them in the Mishnah that they should recite the Shema? Is he not bound by the rule? That's the kasha we're building up. After we're going to cover this topic, we're going to continue go through the Mishnah, or what the Yerushalmi calls the first halacha of Masechta Brachos. People are familiar with this Mishnah. The Mishnah gave examples of other things, of other mitzvahs, where the Chachamim said that it's only applicable until Chatzos. And as the Mishnah went on to explain what Rabbi Gamliel was saying, yeah, really the mitzvahs until Allah is Shachar. It's the Chachamim that say at Chatzos kedei laharchik adam min ha'avera. There's going to be a machloikis as to did the Mishnah also explicitly speak about Korban Pesach. We'll get it. In our Mishnah, when we read it here, it doesn't say Korban Pesach at Chatzos. Neither do we have it in the Mishnah in Bavli. But the Gemara will quote a version that has the Korban Pesach, and as we'll see, there is a machloikis tanoim whether the mitzvah of eating Korban Pesach is until Chatzos midoi raisa, then it doesn't fit in the Mishnah, or there is an opinion that says that Korban Pesach can also be eaten the whole night, and then it fits in the Mishnah. Elamad, the Chachamim were the ones that said, no, you can be midoi raisa, you can do it the whole night, but laharchik adam min ha'avera, eat a Korban Pesach until Chatzos. We're going to move on from there, God willing, on Testament base to the second halacha or the second Mishnah in the Masechta. That's going to be dealing about the mitzvah of saying the Shema of the morning, Uf Kumecha. Here also, there's going to be a machloikis from when at night. I know our Mishnah only said seis, right? But at least in the Yerushalmi, the Gemara brought one other opinion. In the Bible, there were many other opinions, right? We had the opinion over here from when the villagers who have to daven and come back when it's still light, from when they eat their meal Friday night, and the Gemara said in the beginning, it's a little bit prior to Tzeis. That we had from a Braisa. Here in the Mishnah itself, there's going to be a Machlokes Tanoim. From when, as we'll see, Mishayakir bein Tchelis L'Lavin, Mishayakir bein Tchelis L'Karte, and we will have also in the Mishnah a question, until when can you read the Shema, as we will see as we get through today's daf again, daf tes with aleph, second line by the dot, second line from the top. The third example, which is all building up to Akasha, Yachid v'Rabim, Halachi Kerabim, and the Yachid will paskin like the Rab. Ashkachnan, the Rabbi Shimon, which is Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, Talig al Rabban, that even though he argued personally, he argued in the Beis Medrash with the Chachamim, in regards to a detail of the laws of Shemitah, as we'll see in a moment. Nevertheless, but when it came to actuality, he did not pass it according to his own opinion because he's not allowed to. Now, Kai, the Saninan Taman, like we learned there, Saninan is a Mishnah, there is a Mesechtes Shvi'is, a Mesechtes Shvi'is, and what's the Mishnah? So like this, before we read, keep your finger on the Gemara. It's Kedai, around 17 lines from the top of the Amud. Let's go into the Charedim. Right, we're not rushing, and it gives a very important, clear words intro to the topic. The Tanin on Tamon says the Charedim. The Sechta Shvi'is Perek Tes Mishnah Aleph. Kol Hasvichim. Guys, Svichim means aftergrowths. Aftergrowths mean that there are products that you plant for it to grow, and then there are certain times, whether it's a vegetable, whether it's a tree, whether it's a grain, that a seed from the prior stock fell on the ground, and automatically it, so to say, planted itself. That's called a sfiach. So kol hasfichim mutarim. Question is, could you have sfichim on Shemitah without them being bound to the laws of Shemitah? Now understand something. Whenever we say the words sfiach is mutter, sfiach is asr, produce that grows on the Shemitah is not asr categorically, but there are many restrictions. They're hefker. You can't gather a lot of them. Even the little that you gather, there's something called zman habiur. We'll explain more another time. Just to be clear, the word asr doesn't mean you can't eat it. It's not chazer treif. Asr would mean that it's Shemitah produce versus produce from all the other 6 years that have no restrictions as far as if it's yours, it's yours. You can take it, you have to tithe it, and then you can eat it. Okay. So, Kosev Rabbeinu Shimshon, that the topic of our Mishnah, this. That's not relevant for right now.
And when it comes to sfichim,
yeah. We're learning the dinim. Let's first learn this. Sfichim shegodlu b'shvis. If the aftergrowth, that's the way we learn. If it grew on the 7th year, asidim in atoiro, they are asr. Again, asr doesn't mean you can't eat it. It means that they are like basically like an apple that grew on the 7th year. You understand? In other words, they're bound by the rules of Shemitah. And how do we know that? The Yalalomi Kromi Braisa Dechsiv, and the Charedim is quoting over here, the Rabbeinu Shimshon that's quoting a pasuk in Parshas Bahar. Hein loy nizra v'loy nesavis tfosenu. If we're not going to plant and we can't gather, hold on. So it's superfluous. So the fact that the Torah has to write 2 stanzas, 2 clauses, elamikan afilu svichim, which means shagodlu maleim us. First of all, that's klal number 1. No one holds, according to the Rabbeinu Shimshon, that svichim that grew on the 7th year is not Shemitah produce. It is. What is our Mishnah talking about? What are we talking about over here? In which Rab Shimon Bar Yochai is lenient. It grew on the 6th year, but no one plucked it out of the ground. It grew already. They left it in the ground. You are now removing it out of the ground on the 7th year. So here, Rab Shimon holds sfichem therefore are mutter. Why? Because they're really the produce of the 6th year, with one exception. I'm finishing the charedim. Chutz misviche kruv. Cabbage is unique. Why? Because they grow very quick. And it's possible, guys, that in the beginning of the 7th year, you're going to have a huge cabbage. What will you think? So big, it grew for months. No, it could be that the whole thing grew on the 7th year. You'll make a mistake. So Rab Shimon made a gzeira on the cabbage on shviche cabbage only. People notice, people recognize the chigadlu b'shvius. If they only began growing on the 7th year, they'll be little, and people will know that it's from the Shemitah, and they'll know that it's asr or it's bound to the laws of Shemitah. That's Rab Shimon Lingen. You know what the Chachamim say? I'm just finishing the charedim. V'rabbanan asru kol hasvichim shegadlu b'shish. No svichim are mutter, even though they grew on the 6th year. Why? Because if I'll allow the other svichim, you might end up eating cabbage. And it's not called a gzeda. It's one big gzeda. Since there is one vegetable that grows very quick and it's hard to discern when it grew, they asked all the svichim. If you took it out of the ground on the 7th year, Shemitah. Okay, that's the way.
Why not just ban cabbage instead of all vegetables? Train.
I'm happy that you like Rab Shimon. Let's read it inside. Now, Rab Shimon, let's read it inside. Kol hasvichim mutarim, as we explained. Only the Rabbanan Gezeda was chutz misvichei kruv, only the aftergrowths of cabbage. And why is that? She'ein kayoytze behen beyarkoi sodem. There's nothing like them. We read the charedim. There's nothing like them that grows so quick. The chachamim oimrim, no. Kol hasvichim asurim. Okay, first of all, we have a machlokes. Now, let's see how Rab Shimon paskin. So says the Gemara that Rab Shimon Bar Yochai avaduvda b'shemitasa. Avaduvda doesn't mean you have to push it to get used to the words. So there's a logic and there's the words. Avaduvda in the Bible means he did something. No. He was involved in someone's doing something. There was an uvda that he got involved in. And what happened? What was that event? That chama, we had this on that base, means to see. That chama chad melakit svichi shviz. He saw someone picking a svichem that on the 7th year. And Amar Leis, so Rab Shimon told this person, the lace, asur. The lace, is it not asur? The lav, svicheninun. And the irony, that person, you know why that person was picking it? because he felt he's going to follow Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon permitted all the other tzvich. So Amalei, so the man tells him, "V'loi atu sha'at matir." Is it not you that you are matir? So Amalei, so Rab Shimon says, "Ve'ein chaveri choltin alai," but aren't my colleagues arguing with me in Rabim Chachamim? And what happened? That person, if the story would have ended there, that person did nothing wrong until now. But now that Rab Shimon Bar Yochai told him, hold on, you cannot paskin like me. Even I cannot paskin like me. We are bound by the Rabbim. That person did not desist. And Rab Shimon, Kari Aloi, he read the pasuk, person that breaks down or breaches the fence will be bitten by a snake. And that's what the Chachamim, Rab Shimon, people were afraid of Rab Shimon. And that's exactly what happened. This person was bitten by a snake. Okay. So now we have our third case. And L'chumra. That's not a question. In other words, Torah Shabbat Peh, as of a certain point, we know exactly what was the first machlokes in the times of the Zugais. Once we began having machlokes, we have to machlokes. Everyone comes from a different place. Your chesed, your gevura, however this works, I'll pick Kabbalah. It's in elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim, and in every different oilam, every yeshita is right somewhere. But nevertheless, there has to be one opinion, and there's a system that God implemented. There could be exceptions, but whenever we follow the rule, the point the Gemara is making is that that's a klal. And again, in the Bavli, the whole kasha is not a kasha to begin with, as we explained in our intro, because in the Bavli we learned that the Chachamim also agreed that the words ubeshach means the whole night. That's it. The Bavli's problem is that we don't have that answer here. The Bavli holds that the Chachamim hold like Rabbi Eliezer against Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel is the one man out. He's the only one that teaches ubekobecha means while you're asleep. The Chachamim say no, you can only read the Shema when people are going to sleep. We'll stretch it until midnight. So Rabban Gamliel, Palig al Rabbanan, that's the liner over here. They understand fundamentally different the word. And so the kasha is, yet when their children, when his children, how did he paskin like him? Answer number one, listen to this. Shanya hachem. Here is different than all of the three cases. Shehi lishinun. Now what does lishinun mean? So we have in the Charedim two opinions. Opinion number one is, what wrong happened over here? What did they do already? They said the Shema. And we're going to learn on Testament days that what happens if a person misses the Zman Kriya Shema on the day, Shmuley, and they read it later. Did they sin? No. Did they get the mitzvah of reading Shema? No. But they're reading words of Torah. Then the Charedim write something amazing. And I want you guys look in the second of the widest lines. Was the not only the Gemara already under the Pnei Moshe. The Charedim write something gavaldik. The Chein Motzasi Kosuv, the Yesh Piriyoin Lekriya Shema. The Shema Hasmuchala Ketfila. Wowie. There's a concept called Tashlumen. Guys, what does Tashlumen mean? That if a person not bemazed missed Shemona Esrei, what's the halacha? The next time you daven Shemona Esrei, person missed Maidiv. You daven Shemona Esrei of Shachris, then they daven another Shemona Esrei, the one that they missed. Person missed Shachris, they daven two minchas. So there are those who interpret this answer of the Gemara that Rabbi Gamliel was telling them, no, we'll be passing like the Chacham. Midnight is the end. But now there's something called Tashlumen. Tashlumen would mean, what would Tashlumen mean by Tefillah? That when you say the next Shema, that will be the Kasha of the Gemara now. When you say the next Shema, say it first for the morning, and then be mashlim the one for last night. The problem is he didn't say that. He said until Alois. So now asks the Gemara, Meyato af mishiyal amud hashachar. Very good. And because of Mendel's question, it's a secondary pshat. The main pshat is it's called l'shinun. L'shinun means enachanami, you're not fulfilling your obligation. Shinun means you're saying words of Torah. Okay, so you're not getting the mitzvah. So the Gemara is saying, okay, if it's about saying the words, he didn't want for his children to feel, choyte nisker. You miss Shema. No, say it. You are going to say the words. Are you getting the mitzvah? You're not getting the mitzvah. You're getting the mitzvah of learning Torah. So what's Amud HaShachar? So that question is refuted. That answer is Agakna. Answer number 2, V'Istaboy Meimar. So others attempted to answer the question that what? That Tamon Hoyu Yucholim Lekayim Divrei Chachamim. There, in all of the cases that we gave, either this or that, either it's Tameh or it's Tahor. No, there was a scenario. These Svichim are kosher or not kosher. Can you mix the Alvantis? Can you not mix the Alvantis? You needed to pick a side, either one or the other. In all cases, Yachid the Rabbim, even that Yachid followed the Rabbim. But Bram, Aber, Hach over here, here you cannot, it's not either or. The option of the Chachamim is out. They came to the father after Chatzois. That's different. Or let me word it this way. Yachid v'rabim, halachic kerabim, is only lachatchila. B'diavad, if you cannot fulfill the rabim, at least fulfill the yachid. Amaloi, now that it's after Chatzois, uvda kavasi, follow my opinion. And Achanami, he would never tell it to them prior to Chatzois. Prior to Chatzois, he would tell them that you're chayiv midoiraisa to finish until Chatzois. No, what the Mishnah is saying, very good. So let me say like this. See, that's the difference between Babli and Yerushalmi. The Gemara and Babli would now show you the flow. And therefore, according to this, the flow of the Mishnah from there until the end, that not only this, but many other things, it's only Rabbi Gamliel. The rest of the Mishnah is not the Chachamim. According to the Babli, the rest of the Mishnah is the Chachamim. Fakir, that's the whole thing. The Chachamim hold like Rabbi Gamliel that Ubishachbacha means while people are sleeping. Midoiraisa, they can say the whole night. Elamah, Midrabanan, say it until midnight. And not only this, but the Chachamim will continue. The Pshat and the Babli must now be that the rest of the Mishnah is only Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel, Taka holds, you can say it until Alois. Rabbi Gamliel is adding, I who say you can say it until Alois also hold Midrabanan laharcha kadam min aveda. Stop. Attempt to do it by midnight. You're getting the mitzvah. Let Rabbi Gamliel. In other words, even when we say Yach, that's what David was asking. Like, what's even the point of arguing? What's even the point of arguing? Here is your answer. In a certain oilam, that's the way we'll word it. Right? In a certain oilam, the Rabbi Gamliel is right. So if you miss the mitzvah in oilam asiyah, at least get the mitzvah in oilam yitzira. This is how it works. Somewhere you got to do the mitzvah. By the way, blowing the shofar yesterday, I was very happy to see that Baruch Hashem that they blew the shofar in Yerushalmi HaKodesh. Not only that, for the first time, there wasn't a single group that did not have some representatives there, because that's a mission. Because people are keeping the halachas. Okay, let's go right. That's a different topic, not for right now. Mamish, they blew the shofar on Rosh Hashanah as they have to. Now we have words that we don't have in our mission. We already spoke out. That when you offer a korban, the lina of the dam, guys, is by shkia. If you didn't put the dam on the mizbeach by shkia, the whole korban is possible. Ideally, mitzvah b'shaita chaviva is to burn all of the fats also during the day. But if you didn't burn it during the day, you can burn it the whole night. When it comes to burning it during the night, there also, Rabban Gamliel says, I also hold attempt to do it until midnight. Elama, if you didn't, you can do it until the morning. Now, the words Achilas Psachim, mitzvah senat she'ala mudashach. So the Gemara right away says on this version that anan teninan Achilas Psachim, even though we just quoted a version in our Mishnah that included also the mitzvah of eating the korban Pesach until midnight, Shmuli, which would mean that eating the korban Pesach until midnight is only midrabanan. Midoraisa, it's the whole night. But you should know that there are others, the loy tani Achilas Psachim. You know who the others are? By the way, our Ois V'Hadar in the Mishnah. Talmud Bavli. No one has these words over there. Why? Because really it's a machlokes tanoim. So man, the Tana Achilas Psachim, that has to be the sheet of the Chachamim. That has to be the sheet of the Chachamim. What do the Chachamim hold? The Chachamim hold that, let me say like this, Vlad. Rabban Gamliel is quoting Chachamim, not this Chachamim. Rabban Gamliel is quoting the Chachamim, but not Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer. Knows Rabbi Eliezer holds, guys. This is something that we learned in the Bavli. That midda oiraisa, you can only eat a korban pesach until midnight. Where did we learn it from? Because balayla hazeh. Gemara is going to. We had this already over there in the Bavli. And on my time, the Rabbi Eliezer nemar kan. Nemar kan means regarding the eating of pesach. It's all in Parshas Boy. But alayla, I just wanted to tell you that in the Bavli they add the word hazeh. But nemar lahalan it says regarding makas b'choides what layla hazeh. When did makas b'choides happen, Chevre? Bachatzois halayla, Gavaldik. So that's the Gezeidah Shava. Mal layla shenem la'alan is clearly chatzois. That's exactly when the makas b'choides took place. Afkan, when the Torah says eat a korban pesach, balayla hazet means at chatzois, and according to that, the Mishnah didn't write the words the korban pesach. Korban pesach has nothing to do with all the other examples that the Mishnah gave. Okay, the Mishnah is only giving examples where really you can do it until the morning. The Chachamim were the ones that put the harchah. Says the Gemara, Daf Tes Amud Beis. Amar Rebbe Chuna. At the lace, you read the word kan. The lace kan achilas psachim. Don't put it in here. And even though we just said, right, but what was the whole topic that we began today's daf? Well, hold on. Yachid v'Rabbim, what do we follow? Rabbim. Who holds that eating Pesach biblically is until midnight? Rabbi Eliezer. The Chachamim hold that it's the whole night. So let's put the girsa l'shitas, the majority. You're right. The lace kan achila. Don't put it in there, even though I'm moida that this is following the majority opinion. Why? I'll tell you why. Because who put together the Mishnayos? Learning big klalim here. Rabbeinu HaKadosh. And you remember the klal that halachic is tam Mishnah. In other words, the way Rabbeinu HaKadosh formulates an opinion, and he doesn't quote that it's a machlokes. He writes tamadim. That's the way Rebbe is saying this is the halach. Problem is that if these words would have been written here, even though we just went back and forth, who said that last part of the Mishnah? So I said that according to our understanding, Rabbi Gamliel, but the Rebbe didn't write that. It's written stam. That there are things that you can do until Alisa Shachar. The Chachamim said until midnight. Rebbe put this in here. If Rebbe would have put in here the words Korban Pesach, that would have implied that Rebbe is paskening like the Chachamim, which normally you should. I have a problem because in Masechtas Pesachim we're going to quote a Mishnah that from there we see that Rebbe does not pasken like the Chachamim. What's the Mishnah over there? HaPesach Achar Chatzois is Matama Yudayim. Now this is very important. The Tuma that Korban gives off is only when that Korban is Noisar. Noisar is when biblically it went beyond the allocated time. That Mishnah Pesachim is not quoting a name of anyone. So since we see in Masechtas Pesachim that Rabbeinu was soisem kishitas Rabbi Eliezer, even though that's the beauty of the Gemara is hinting. Yachid v'Rabbim, what did we say? As a klal, halacha kerabim, clearly, we know that in this machlokes, why I don't know. There are exceptions. Rebbe paskins like Rabbi Eliezer, and therefore he soisem the Mishnah like Rabbi Eliezer. So if for Rebbe to be consistent, it fits for him not to have these words written in here. However, we don't have a place. Again, all of this just to open up the question, and this is something that they speak about that we just explained, that this whole ending of the Mishnah is Rabbi Gamliel. The whole end of the Mishnah has to be Rabbi Gamliel, and that's the flow. And the Mishnah is quoting what he told his children. So therefore, let me say it like this. So therefore, the other Amoraim won't agree with Rab Chuna. They won't find it problematic that the Mishnah Pesachim, which is Takastam Mishnah, is saying that Rebbe is saying that the Pesach after midnight cannot be eaten biblically. Therefore, it's Matamas HaYodayim. They won't have a problem with putting the version over here. Why? Because our Mishnah is only quoting the words of Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi is quoting the words. It's a story. Okay, let's go by. Next. Kol hanachalom liyamechad. For some reason, Bashgacha Pratis, when we were learning this, first of all, it's very good to be humbled in the right way. And I forgot, I forgot that something that we're supposed to say every day, which kacham kalam can only be eaten for one day and one night. It's bothering me. And that is the toida and the ale nazir. The whole source of a sudas hoidaya comes from the carbon toida. Carbon toida comes with 40
You
loaves
said
of
it,
bread.
Toida. You said it, Toida. You said it,
I
Toida.
was not certain. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Now I'm certain that's what it is. It was lost to us. We were struggling over there. We can blame it on the lack of sleep. It was very hot. They don't help. Now we're clarifying. So kol anacholem liyemech. What's the word kol? So the Gemara says kol anacholem yechad. It's even kacham kalam, which is taka the exception. That you might have thought. No, what you might have thought that by kacham kalam, let's be more lenient. We're not more lenient. No matter what it is, if God says you have until alois, the Chachamim said, according to Rabbi Gamliel, do it until midnight. Now, Chachamim, to distance a person from sin. In other words, im at hava oimer at sheyal amud hashachar. If you're going to say, let's actually do what God allows us to do, which would be to consume these different types of holy foods, to do certain mitzvahs until the alois hashachar, you know what might happen? Who savar? You will think that what shaloi amud hashachar. Amud hashachar is something that you have to know how to discern. Right? Look at nowadays. We're living in cities. There's so much light coming man-made. You can't see the heavens at all. You can't see alois hashachar the way they would see it. A person might think it's not yet alois hashachar, and then God forbid they're going to eat noisa, chayv kares, nimtza, oichel umischayev. So what's the solution? So then you are allowing that even though we make mistakes, even when you make a mistake, you're not going to be chayiv. Afilu hu oichel achar chatzois is einoi mischayev. Beautiful. I just want to conclude. There's a beautiful medrash that speaks about the ultimate yachid v'rabim, and that is that you have a pasuk that says that God says shuva alai. Hashem says, come to me, v'ashuv aleichem, I'll come back to you. That's the Oibishter. We say, Hashiveinu Hashem elecha, you come to us, then the Neshuva elecha. So the Medrash says that in the heavens, they were having this whole debate. So we told the Beis Din, Yachid v'Rabin, Halacha Kerabin. And the Oibishter agreed that Hashiveinu Hashem elecha v'Neshuva. Okay. Next mission. As we said in the Hagdama, that one big difference between Babel and the Yerushalmi isn't only that the Yerushalmi has less Shachar, but it's also connected to the fact that instead of it going in deeper into Svaras, Mikano Lakan, it's going straight, it sees the light, it goes straight to the Psak. That the Yerushalmi calls a Mishnah a Halach. So here we have Halacha base, which is the second Mishnah, and now we're following the Seder of the Pasuk, either B'Shachbacha Ufkomecha, that's in the Babel, or Vayihi Erev Vayihi Boiker. These are the two answers the Gemara gave in the beginning of Bavli. So after we discussed the night, now we are discussing the day. And here also there are two steps. From when until when. Just like we learned. Not like the Chacham. Not like Rabbi Gamliel. Like Rabbi Eliezer. Like the Yerushalmi holds like the Chachamim. That Ubishachbacha means when people are going to sleep, not when they are asleep. Uvekomecha means the same thing. Uvekomecha doesn't mean when you are awake, when you are standing. If it would have meant that, it would have been the whole day. But that's not the taich lukula alma. Uvekomecha means when people are getting up. And even though it's daytime, if it's after this man that people get up, you cannot say the Shema. And now the question is, from when do people get up? Ask a Jew that's over 50 who drank coffee last night. He'll tell you when he got up. We learned here in the Bavli, we learned in the Yerushalmi, David HaMelech, he got up before Chatzos. He got up Rosh Hashmona, Hatichayna. And that can be before midnight. When he went to sleep late, he woke up midnight. So when do people get up? That will be the topic. That you have to follow the Roiv. So says the Mishnah, again with the nun, not with the Shachar is. So not only is it not from Alois, it's after Alois. It's the next step after Alois. And what is that called? Mishiyakir ben tchelis l'lovin. But there's enough daylight that you can distinguish which thread is the tchelis thread and which one is the undyed white wool non-tchelis thread. And what's very important, as the Gemara will point out, we're not speaking about two balls of thread. There, even at night, in the moonlight, you can see. We're speaking about a tzitzis that has on it bound the tchelis threads. And I know that there are many, many different opinions. But what you'll have there, common by all the opinions, is that sometimes there's going to be one tchelis, one white. And they're very little, and the one next to the other. To be able to distinguish between one and the other, you have to have a certain amount of daylight, more than the alois hashachar daylight. White and sky blue. That is the chachamim. Rabbi Eliezer needs to have a little bit more daylight. White and blue is less similar than blue and green. Blue and green are closer to each other. And in order to distinguish something that is more similar, you need more lichtigkeit. Ben tchelis lekarton, blue wool and green wool. That is from when? Until when? I just want to say some words. I'll pick Kabbalah, the Shara Hagavonim from the Ramak. So like this, guys, blue is Chacham, the heavens. Green is Bina. White is Chesed. So Alpi Nigla, like we just said, we said correctly. We said correctly that Eliezer needs more daylight. Why? Because blue and green are more similar. There's another angle. The other angle is that blue and white is on the same column. It's on the Tzad Yamin. Chachma, white is Chesed. But Moichin and Midas, you can say also, Moichin and Midas are already clearly distinguishable. They're not the same. Moichin, Midas. Blue and green are two different types of Moichin. The Moich of Chachma and the Moich of Bina. Very good. So it fits. Okay, because Rabbi Eliezer holds, you need to have more daylight. Now that's from when? Until when? Oh. So says the Mishnah, and I want you to know that these words are not the words of the Chachamim. These are only the words of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says from Ben Chelis Lekarton at Hanetzachamon until the sunrise. Until the sunrise. The least amount of time, similar to the first halacha, where Rabbi Eliezer also gave you the least amount of time until when for the night Shema. However, that's because Rabbi Eliezer, even when he slept in, people came until Nates. After Nates, no one is in bed in his house. Rabbi Yeshua, hold on. No. And by the way, what does ad mean? I love the time here. And I want you to know that it's the Rambam that holds that ad va'ad b'chlal, and we paskin like the Rambam. So when we say ad shalosh shoyis, what does it mean? It means until the end of the third hour of the day. A third hour of the day is dafka, what we call shoyis maniyos. Shmois aniyos means that it's relative hours. It's not 60-minute hours. Every day has 12 hours. Then a summer, you take from the beginning and the end, you divide it by 12. And winter, you take beginning and ending and divide in 12. It's at the end of that third hour. Then finally, the big machlokes is, let's just give the final ones between the Magen Avram and the Gra, that from when to when. It's from when to when. So the Magen Avram holds from Alois until Seis. That is where now you take it divided by 12. And the Gra paskins from Nates until Shkia. All of this is when you open up a calendar's manim, you'll see just another Magen Avram, you'll see the Gra. You have to understand, what are you reading? That's the big machlokes. Again, the Magen Avram holds that you count the shoyis maniyois from Alois until Tseis. And the Gra holds you count it from Nates until Shkia. And that's the sheet of Rabbi Yosef. Yeah. In other words, you're going to have less time. The Magen Avram is going to give you more time. Very good. No, Ad Va'Bachal, everyone passes like that. Everyone holds.
No, the Magen Avram is earlier.
Huh?
So the Magen Avram's time is always earlier than the Gra's.
Magen Avram is earlier. That's what we're saying. Correct. That's what they mean to say. It begins.
And Alter Rebbe holds like the Gra, right?
Generally, yeah. Not by night. We said we already spoke out by night. Alter Rebbe has a big chiddush that we follow, which the Alter Rebbe uses only for the night, the 24-minute mill. The Alter Rebbe adds a few minutes from when to begin to count the Shkia. The Alter Rebbe adds Shitas Rabbi Yossi Keher of Ayin. The Alter Rebbe quotes, I think it's Rabbi Yoina, it means 2 minutes. The Alter Rebbe makes this the earliest man of Tzeis something very aligned with reality, but that's a big chomer. Okay, let's go back. Now, what's the magic of 3 hours? So says the Mishnah, Shkein derech b'nei malachim la'amid b'shalosh sha'os. Because we are b'nei malachim. So yeah, Rabbi Eliezer is right. Working people, they get up by nates. But the bankers, you have a minyan, 7 o'clock minyan. Here in LA, there's a 9 o'clock minyan, there's a 10 o'clock minyan. Now, make no mistake, says the Mishnah. After that, lo yihifsid, by davening, guys, you remember we had a machlekes in the Yerushalmi before. Are you even allowed to daven? Right? We had, Rabbi Yochanan says halavai sheyispalo, but there was a shita that says you're not allowed to daven shmona esrei. Here, no, lo yifsid. Kadam shu kaidem batoira. And let's just open up. We have these small dafim. We have another 2 minutes. So I want to say like this, just to clarify. When our Mishnah says the Tanakama, that bein tchelis lilavin, we just spoke it out by 4. It's not a ball of tchelis wool and a ball of white wool. That for that you don't need any light. Keni masnisa. Keni means emes. Bein tchelis sheba lilavin sheba. We're not speaking about 2 separate balls on your tzitzis. And here you look inside the charedim, and now we're talking when you look at people that are going back to wearing tchelis, you'll see all these different opinions how you bind it. A lot of it comes from this already in Achra. We don't have the shaynim here. That they made 1 loop of white, 1 loop of blue, 1 loop of white, 1 loop of blue. For that, you need more sunlight. Not a whole ball of white, a whole ball of blue is much easier to discern. Just the wrap part. Okay, you know what, Chavra? Let's stop over here. We'll continue, God willing, tomorrow.
Shkoyach, Rabbi.
Oh, yeah.
Chaim. Rush. They're not rushing.